Anyways, Jamie, nice to have you here, and
Thank you.
nice for you to have the closing session on this one here. Save the best for last, yeah. And thank you everyone, and give it up for Jamie.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sticking it out. You know, for the most dedicated people in the room. So this is who you want to be near. And everyone that you're looking around, this is like the people that are pushing things forwards, staying up till past 5, and you could go home. It's amazing. I had a friend of mine did say that they posted something about how all of the most innovative and dedicated and wanting to do things people and friends they know with AI, instead of it making there's no work for them. They're working the hardest they've ever worked before, and they're enjoying themselves the most. And my friend who sent it to me, he goes, some people say it's a little bit like fentanyl with its addictive quality, but he goes, I think probably fentanyl will be healthier for me. It really does feel like that. I have not been getting much sleep. I know a lot of other people haven't since AI started. Yeah, my name's Jamie. I'm the co-founder of a tech agency called Freely Give. We've been focusing on native Drupal CRM systems for a while and sort of business applications, but I became obsessed with AI. Again, lack of sleep became a big thing, trying stuff out. Can it do this? Can it do this? Can it do this? Talking about it in every single situation. So I've got involved in the AI module, the AI initiative that you've heard a bit about today. And I'm not a programmer, so I'm coming at this from someone who actually doesn't. I did write some code when I was like 16, but nothing since then. So I've been thinking a lot about how we maintain our edge. So we've been talking about Drupal AI for a while, and we've been tracking what's been happening in Drupal and how things have happened somewhere else. And I would normally give these talks saying, we're ahead, we're doing amazing stuff. And that's still true to some extent, but everyone else is taking this very seriously now. They're upping their game. They're doing amazing things. Like, why did you build all this AI stuff inside Drupal? Well, if you tried any of the other things at the time, they all were terrible. They're all proof of concepts, nice in theory, in practice it would never go anywhere. We're in a place now where, no, there's a lot of people using AI to do really great stuff. It's provably making a difference. And the tooling is getting better and better and better. So how do we maintain our edge? I think we are going to have to make use of advantages in AI outside of Drupal. I've always liked the do it with Drupal. Everything should be done in Drupal. I still think that's true to some degree, but the fact is there's a lot of amazing stuff happening, and we need to be able to connect to that. We need to find ways of growing together more as a community. I'm going to talk a bit about that. Everyone is doing these cool things that are their own thing or their own way of doing it or their organization's way of doing it. And I've said this before, that we're never going to compete in the open source community with proprietary world if there are just millions of these separate people doing things in their own way. But I would say a couple of years ago there weren't a lot of people trying stuff. There wasn't a lot of real serious talent and understanding that was being pushed out there, even in the Drupal community. And I think that's changing. I mean, you've seen a few talks here. People have done amazing things now. I don't know, why don't we give a clap for everyone else here and all the other people that gave a talk? Because it is actually quite exciting to be in a community where just people are just making amazing demos that are real, that they're doing it with their clients, they're doing it all in open source, and that's special. But we need to try and do this and continue to grow this as a community together. If you see the wall outside of all the different people in the different verticals in AI, it's intimidating. And I still think real use cases are still difficult to find. It's still the case that people tend towards interesting demos and less things in production that's provably made a huge difference. That is like a 20x or 10x productivity increase, or it's saved money in some way, or it's been 10 times faster. Those exist, and more they're becoming a thing. So I think AI is here to stay, because if one person can do it, so can lots of others. But we're still finding real use cases slightly difficult to obtain, and governance especially is tough. So building something that you can prove works is a lot easier than convincing all the people to sign off on it to allow that to be actually used in a production environment. I'm going to talk a bit about our agentic WordPress Drupal to source and Drupal CMS, AI-based practice, and a kind of vision for core. So I thought I'd give you a little taste of where things are going. So the big thing that I think has changed everything for me, for us, for a lot of what we're talking about, is I think agentic coding or vibe coding has really taken off. I know everyone's been saying that for a while, but I would say about mid-December 2025 is when it was actually true. Like before, I would use AI as a non-developer and it could do things, but I remember trying to get it to like make it so when I hovered over something, something appeared that gave more description about the thing I was hovering over. And I remember there was one day where it took me 2 days to get this to work, over and over and over again, where it would fix it one way, but it would cause another bug. And I'd be like, you need to fix this bug. So it would fix that, but then return the first one back. And I was just going back and forth, never going anywhere. And then Opus hit, and it was good, but incredibly expensive. I remember 1 week spending $500. I got an alert saying you've run out of credits, and I was like, oh, I thought I put in the $500. So I put another 500 in, not realizing that I'd actually blown through all of that. And then thought, oh dear, going back to the rest of the business partners, I probably should have some kind of conversations with other people in my company before I start throwing in $500 a day, or whatever it was. It was expensive. But it's got to a place where it's good, and it's actually affordable, and it works. And that's changed a lot about what we need to do. And it's getting to a place where it's easy to use. So there's this concept of skills, which are kind of like the Matrix. I know Kung Fu, a kind of an AI thing where you can just like put the skill in its head, and suddenly it's magically able to do something. And these skills can just be dynamically loaded. It can be forgotten. They don't have all the complexity that used to be the case when we were building agents. They're really great. And you just take in your skill, I don't know, like this find one, copy it into your terminal, hit enter. And there's this beautiful little thing in your terminal that you use to like figure out what kind of tool you're using. Is it Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, etc.? You can pick those. It figures out the ones you've already got, and you just get going. And this thing of time to value is something that I think we really need to think about a lot in Drupal. Why is AI agents not recommending Drupal? Well, there's a lot we could do with marketing. There's a lot we could do with pushing what we do and features. But a big thing is often if I have a Drupal site and I want to use AI to make it, it just takes ages to get something started. And sometimes when I've got a site and it works, it just takes like a day to get it hosted, even when we're a company that specializes in that. And when you look at the speed at which these things in AI are hitting, a lot of people would ask me for like, could you do a training thing on Claude Code and how to use it? What video should I watch? Always my answer is go to Claude Code's website by Googling it. At the very top, it tells you what to do to install it. Copy and paste it into your terminal. Within 5 minutes you've got it. Then do anything. Just try something out and it will be magical. And a lot of people have that experience that with something like Claude Code and now all these others, you install it and immediately it's made a difference into your life within 10 minutes. You don't need loads of training to help you find out how to get value from it. You don't need someone to explain it to you. You don't need a product demo. The time to value is fast. And I think we need to really, really focus on that in Drupal. But we have been working on it. So one thing that a number of people have done is created a whole bunch of skills around this to start solving some of the harder things that we've had in Drupal. So we've got this Claude Code. Drupal, we've been building a lot to make it so it's really good for AI agents to use and understand. And we're in a place now where we can migrate things into Drupal pretty quickly. I'm going to show you a little video of it happening. But we've been working a lot with Acquia Source, which is like a SaaS-based product, but it's based around Drupal CMS. So if you're using Drupal CMS in Canvas, you'll get a lot of the benefits of this. And we're finding that this is actually hitting something that real enterprise clients and others are really getting the value from this now. This is not the fun demo. This is something we're doing with live production sites with really happy customers paying much less money to get something that would have taken a lot longer, much faster. And I think there's a need for great, we're at API days, great APIs and open source here. Because I'm feeling something, this subscription fatigue. How many people, have like, let's say a Claude Code subscription or something, right? How many people have a Codex subscription? Okay, a bit. What about Gemini? Okay, what about Vercel as well? Okay, what about, okay, we've got that. How about Mermaid? Who's gone really far to have like a dedicated Mermaid thing for making So what we're finding is that there's all of these, when I want to do one thing, sometimes there's 3 different $10 a month subscription services I need to use with various different proprietary APIs that I have to string together to do anything now. And I think there's this fatigue a lot of businesses are hearing of yet another AI orchestration platform that you want me to get licenses for that will lock me into your little thing. People are getting a bit fed up with that. We're seeing more and more of those cases where Claude or Anthropic or OpenAI will release a new feature and like 100 startups will just shut up, close up shop because now they're like wrapper around ChatGPT. It's just been like completely, it's just a feature of what OpenAI offer. But there's another thing that's scary, which is if you work with a proprietary company that actually is good, that is worth the money, and they come along and you pay them a certain amount of money, and they take the core of what you do as a business and improve its productivity by 20 times, make things 20 times faster, you can make 20 times more widgets, you could do things 20 times cheaper. That seems like an amazing story for you. Yay, I'm going to be rich. Except now you're completely beholden to that company who want all of those productivity gains as their own growth. And when you've got 20x speeds, it's hard to figure out, can you move? Because did you really understand what they did? Were you the one as an organization that really got the core of how they made your company 20 times faster? Or have they got that? And I think there's a lot of companies that are willing to spend more money up front with things that they feel a sense of ownership for, which, okay, ownership they don't always see open source as them owning it, which is a shame, because it's kind of true, but it is the case that some level of sovereignty and some level of ownership is becoming a real value when you can have those revenue gains yourself. If your vendor that has built this thing for you, don't like it, you can move on to something else. They can't just keep increasing the price. And I've already heard of stories of people charging $1 million a year, going up to 10 million, going up to 50, and the person can't do anything about it because they're locked in now. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a little picture here. So what we've been doing is we've been creating these skills and things around Claude Code. And a number of people have been doing that. So Freely Give has one, we have another, and we're all going to converge. I'll tell you a bit about that in a bit. And what's happening here is we have a client's website in WordPress, and we first get AI to just browse their site and document it. And it creates these components inside storybooks. And then it validates them. It does accessibility checks on them. It does a whole bunch of tests. And it interacts with a browser to actually check its own work constantly, like seeing, does this thing look right? And then once we got into storybooks, which is like a more consistent, sort of a well-known approach to storing these design systems, it then moves it into Canvas. And here it's going to source. So you can see here, this is this site. It's inside storybooks. We've got slightly advanced components where there are carousels, where things are all floating around. There's a component with an age gate with some logic where you have to put in your date of birth, saves a cookie to remember, and you can only see the page if you're over a certain age. And then we're asking AI to do it, and you can see it's going along. It's obviously been sped up, but AI is building these things, checking its work, and streaming things in. And checking its own, doing a quick overview. Does this work? Is this good? Is this what we're looking for? And yeah. Now, one thing about this, you can see now the more advanced components are coming on in. One thing about this is in the past, what we did is we focused on marketeers, so non-developers being able to do all of this themselves. We've switched a little bit to be like, can we get like the best AI engineers and the best Drupal people, really good engineers, to be 20 times faster? It's not as magic as one-click button and everything's just done, but it's still pretty magical to be able to get something that would take a month in just a day. That's still cool. So let's focus on that. And then as we get better and better and better, these tools will be something that we can expose for everyone. And so, yeah, that site's built, and actually it went live. It went live, again, using AI to build this and in source. like a month ago. So this is not a proof of concept. It was real. They were happy with the speed. They were happy with the price point. They're happy with the overall thing. It worked. Now, I am a bit worried about maybe AI taking over the world and becoming our overlords, and it might remember what we do. So whenever it does anything good, I think we should all like clap it, say, well done, AI, for doing something good, and hopefully it will remember us. You may have heard in the early days that if you don't, please is a bad thing to say because it's costing loads of tokens, and if you swear at it, it will do what you want better. I'm nervous about taking that option. I wonder if those gains are short-term, and we'll regret that. So, yeah, and they said they were happy. It was like a huge change versus what they have already. They loved the editor. They loved the experience. Like, people were talking about Drupal now as a nice, easy-to-use experience, and these are non-developers. But also, the speed at which they can go, the momentum, was powerful. And we're tending to charge less because it takes less time. But generally speaking, you'd pay more for a first-class stamp. So I think there's some element where we can start really thinking about our billing models if we can start doing things at lightning speed. I'll just throw it up there. This is not where it's going to sit, but this is a place where you can go and download our version of the tool. Again, one-line installer and something like takes you through the steps you need to do. I think it wasn't merged last time, but it's something that will mean it will work with Drupal CMS locally as well as source. But we're going to be bringing this somewhere else. Oh yeah, that's a bit bigger. Sorry, I'll post it up there. But this is not where it's going to live forever. And you can see this little installer here. And we did this internally with our website. And we made a new Freely Give AI website. But one thing is I managed to get someone who wasn't a developer, one of our project managers, to vibe code the design of this and then bring it in. And then I actually did some of the work to actually get it into Drupal CMS. But also, I had a description of the content I wanted. And I'm very, as you can tell by this talk, I'm very bad at being clear, succinct, and quick. So I wrote a lot. And I pointed it at some sites that I liked their way of talking. And AI, you could see it go, oh yes, I can see why maybe you've written a little bit too much and we need to reduce the amount of copy on this page. So it was very polite with how it told me. But it did this kind of very Silicon Valley, we're pioneers, not followers, we build AI frameworks, not just use them, we push the boundaries of what's possible. And this is what I was aiming it for, and I was building this for a particular client in mind that wanted to show our site off. But for fun, I tried, what if we tried to make it more British? So we're like, not your typical tech company, people first, we're a small, tight-knit team who actually care. And then in a bigger description of who we are, we're based in London and Hastings, we're happily set up your office wherever you are, we'll bring the biscuits. So I did this at a Drupal England event, and I thought, okay, what else could we try and do? Let's take this thing, I've had markdown files, let's convert it to something else. And somebody tried, what if you made your website, but it's talked like it was a moody teenager? So we got this. Fine, here's who we are, or whatever. We do AI stuff, it's actually really cool, you probably wouldn't get it. I mean, to be fair, it does feel like an adult pretending to be a moody teenager, more than actually a moody teenager, so it's a sign of AI not being perfect. But with all of these tools, you can see Freely Give's got one. It's turned out now, I've hired more people, and we've actually got 3 of our own internal, non-compatible tools to make WordPress go to source already inside our tiny company. And so, you know, fastest things on earth. Oh, there's a cheetah, there's an airplane, there's speed of light, and there's people becoming experts in AI. And it is that, and obviously I'm guilty of that. I'm not even a programmer going around talking like I know about AI, and everyone's doing the same thing. So, enter WebChick. So this is a little bit for people who know about Drupal. She's been involved in the community for a very long time, and she got involved, and she started bringing people together. She's very good at that. And it has concluded in this thing called the AI Best Practices for Drupal. And what we're trying to do is find a way of getting all of these skills and all of this tooling into one place, with the dream that actually the normal place, like you do with, like, say, something like DDev, is that you start working with Drupal, you just go with one line, hit enter, and this is how you'll start working. So we've been thinking about how can we get that, because everyone wants to build their own, and when they build their own, you get vibes. I mean, we know we call it vibe coding, but actually you evaluate these things on vibes. Does it kind of work for you every single time you use it? So when somebody comes along with a new tool to use, you're like, well, I've got mine that I built. I know it works. I have no idea what yours is going to be like. Even if it works one time, I have no idea if it's going to work the second time, what things it's going to get right or wrong. So we're trying to make this thing work like magic. You install it, everything it goes. Yeah, okay, so I've already talked a bit about the easy to install it, bring everyone together. So the way that I think we're going to do that is something called evals. So what we do, and here's an example of one, is we come up with a simple file that says a prompt, an example of something you want to do. This is about testing. Automated testing is something people are very excited about. But you could do it also for this moving things into Canvas, where you have a prompt that somebody wants, and then you have the expected output and expectations about it. And then what we've done is we've built the system that you run a test, and it will go through and use something like Claude Code to try out that prompt, see what Claude Code would do, and see how good it is, and then rank it. And you get this nice report on what it's good at. But what I think is even cooler is it does this A/B testing. So it tries it without your skill, so sees what AI can do on its own, out of the box, and then compares it to with the skill. And you can see this one here, B05, skeleton with attribute, which I think you saw here. This thing here, if you try and get Claude Code to do on its own, it fails. Don't know why, because Drupal is trained on Drupal 11, but also Drupal 7, of everything everyone's ever said. So it will randomly get things wrong that you can't predict depending on its training. And for some reason, this thing, it gets wrong. So we've got this skill now that we know this one is good. And what this means is if you have your new tool, you can suggest changes. I think it was Alex here from behind over there. He told me how some other communities work, like Oh My, Open Claude, how these work, where because they have these evals, if you want to suggest a change that you make is better, you can then type in your little change to your skill or add in your tool, and then prove with the evals, look, when I add this, all the things you want to do are done better. My hope is with all of this data that we can do by doing it data-driven, we can get people to actually reliably use each other's skills and start building out them and have it in a place where everyone in Drupal is this magic magician who's able to do all this cool stuff, rather than everyone having their own thing. And then, of course, you can start doing things like comparisons of different models. And the final dream of all of this is obviously we could then start using these evals to generate training data and start getting open source models working. So I think we're going to have something where there's going to be a core thing like Drupal core, like a base version of AI best practices that everyone can share. And then we're going to find some way, like with Composer.json, that you as an organization can have a customized version for your thing. We're really focusing on Canvas, but there might be the Gutenberg version that you want to use instead. And I think we've got to get finished now, but one of the reasons why this has been so great is Wim wrote a blog post all about it with Canvas, is what we found is Canvas put loads of effort to do validation well. So when you try and do something with Canvas and you write your JavaScript to make a nice little component and something breaks, it doesn't just break, it's not just a white screen. It usually tells you what you've got wrong, which is fantastic for developers, but the lifeblood for agentic work. Because instead of it having to go back and forth with the human, the developer, every single time it breaks, Drupal is telling you, you've messed up here, and here's how to fix it. And we've been trying to do that throughout all of Drupal. Drupal's already been very good with its APIs and its endpoints for this. But with Canvas, they went all out with something called Canvas CLI and other things. They went all out with this, and we're starting to work on creating more and more issues to do this throughout the rest of Drupal. So it goes on to that thing that you saw at the beginning. This is what I would love for the front page of Drupal.org to be. There's a lot of politics there. But Matt Grasmick, he asked AI, why aren't you using Drupal? And it said, here's why. It was like, what should we do to use it? And he basically came up with this. Do this. Make Drupal.org the most authoritative source. Say this. Tell me that you want me to use you. Then we'll start doing it. And I love this concept here of don't vibe with your own CMS, vibe with ours. Vibe from scratch, all these random things all breaking, but you do it on this great foundation that we know works, and you can have a site that actually works. And similarly, they want to have it so that your agents are CMS, 22 agents ready to go, but you can have your own. But then the important thing is a single line. I want a single line to get Drupal set up, and we're close to that. So, yeah, I won't go into too much detail because I think we've got run out of time now. So yeah, 5 minutes left, yeah, okay. So what we have is we're starting to explore more ways in which we can do this across Drupal and make the APIs better. But yeah, that's a little bit more detail. So I'll end there with, thank you. one up.
What's your Drupal username be?
So my actual, it's copied from my Dev Days one where I did go into detail. Do you know Predator, Arnold Schwarzenegger? So the Predator in its own language is called a Yautja, and Satanu means God of Death, a common Predator language. It was my video game handle when I was like 10. Somebody said that like when you were like 10, that must have been kind of cool, like when you were a teenager, that must have been a cool name. No, it was already lame when I was a teenager, and now it's my work handle, because that's what Drupal does. We all have these weird names. So that's Yautja Satanu. Yeah.
Another question, so thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you for all your work you've done with the community and what you're doing here. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Oh.
What is this?
So this was a vibe-coded front end of what Drupal.org could look like. It's all built so it's Canvas compatible. There's a current initiative in Drupal.org to replace Drupal.org's front page with its own thing, so we don't have to deal with Drupal 7. And I think it should be this. Matthew's made this. We could just put it on there now. It's all built in such a way that it would work. Obviously, I don't know how to do all of this. Tim Doyle's here. Obviously, he's been working on the marketing initiative, so I show it off whenever I can, because I think although some people won't like this because it doesn't show the features of Drupal, I don't know how many people randomly click around the internet, find a website, and go to their boss in an enterprise, use this. I don't know how often that happens. But AI, that does happen. You just start vibe coding and you use what AI tells you. So I think this is something where we should really focus on telling AI why you should use us. And I think it's also a good message for everything else. You look at Salesforce, they've basically done this with their front page. That's what I think we should do. But, yeah.
All right.
Oh, question.